Welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we are diving back into the Unbroken Rain is Falling series by Shayla Black and Jenna Jacob. Now, if you have not listened to the reviews for the first three books in the series, those links are going to be available down below in the description section. So once you catch up with those, come and join us as we dive into book three, The Brink. We start off from Mason's POV. He's awakened by Liam, and he, of course, is like, what the hell is going on? Liam tells him, like, come in the bathroom. I need to talk to you. We got to get away from Rain. So he tells him what's going on. And of course, Mason's like, is it yours? Is that a possibility? You know? And he's like, I don't know. Like, there was this one night, um, maybe a year ago, where we went to a charity event and I got drunk. Next morning, I woke up next to her. I took a piss and I got out of there. So I don't know if I did it or not. So Mason's like, oh gosh. So he calls the club, talks to Pike, and Pike is like, this is too much. I did not sign up for this. He's going back and forth. He's like, you got to come and deal with her. So they're trying to figure things out. They know they've got to go back. Liam wants to go back by himself, but Mason's like, you can't do that. If she wakes up and you're gone, it's going to be the whole abandonment thing all over again. You uncollared her like 5 days ago, and we cannot do that to her. So Liam wants to tell her the truth. Well, they go downstairs. They're talking. They're going back and forth. Seth and Beck come in. We find out that Beck has got to go back for a heart transplant surgery. And so he was going to have to take the Escalade anyway, but he's not going to be able to come back for like another week. So everybody's got to go. So Mason's like, okay, we'll use his reason as the reasons that we've got to go back. But that's not being totally honest. And it's kind of crazy because it's like you're asking her to always be honest and forthright with you. But then here comes an issue, and the first decision you make is keep her from it. She can't handle it. So was there really any growth during your sessions? Because you all have no faith. I mean, none. So even though Liam is against it, they come to this conclusion. They're not going to tell her their reason for going back. And so that's what I don't think it's a good idea. Because I feel like if she goes back, if she sees Gwyneth, she's going to be completely caught off guard. And that's going to mess her up. Because you didn't give her what she needed to kind of withstand that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's a good idea. Liam doesn't think it's a good idea. But at the same time, Liam doesn't want to do anything that could hurt Rain. You know, we know they're very much protective of her, but I just don't think it's good. It's like right off the bat, she tells you she wants both of you. You all have this amazing night, and then the first thing you want to do is lie to her. We switch to Rain's POV. She's a little thrown off because it's like they had this really great night, and then both of them come in this morning. Yes, they were united, but something seems off. They're rushing her off. They're saying something's going on. They gotta go. And it's like, okay. They tell her about the surgery that Beck has, the heart surgery, well, the heart transplant surgery. And, okay, they finally get her out. She gets outside. She drinks some tea that Liam had prepared for her favorite tea. And everybody's really quiet in the Escalade. So she winds up saying something to Beck about the surgery, and he explains how everything works. This person, you know, they need this heart transplant and all this different stuff. So he does need to get back pretty quickly. But she knows something else is going on. Something's still off. Liam is distant. He's looking out the window. And she's kind of looking like, why the heck? Like, why is he being so distant? You know? He tells her, his mind is just somewhere else. And that's it. He goes back to looking out the fucking window. Okay? So she's kind of like, okay, she knows he's had issues with jealousy in the past. So she's kind of wondering, is that what this is? Has that jealousy thing come back? Is he going to now pull away from me now? She's wondering, are they going to throw her away? And this is why I said telling her nothing was not a good idea. Because now her mind went somewhere else because something is going on. You can't fake that. It would be different if you all could be normal with her, but you can't. She sees something's wrong, you're affected, and now her mind is going to the worst thoughts anyway. You see what I mean? So that's why I thought it was so stupid for them not to tell her what's going on. It could have been real simple. Listen, Gwyneth is back. She's saying she's pregnant, that she had this kid from me. I don't know if it's true or not. We got to go back and get to the bottom of it. She's, raising hell at Shadows. So we got to get back. Do you think she's going to have in her head, oh, he doesn't want to be with me. He wants to be with Gwyneth? No, because you just told her what's going on. But now what you've done is give her an amazing night, and now you're being different to her. That would make probably anyone feel like, now they're probably done with me. Like all these doubts are now creeping in. And I just felt like it could have been solved with just telling the freaking truth. They stopped to get gas, and she says she's got to pee. So they stopped there. So then we switch to Mason's POV. He goes over to Liam trying to find out what's the latest because Liam's on the phone. So he talked to Gwen for like a little bit and found out she's moved herself some kind of way. She found his room. She's moved herself in. She's seen that there's women clothing, and she's like, you moved on fast. She's like, you just forgot about me like I didn't exist. And Mason's like, you guys broke up 2 years ago. What the fuck is she talking about? So Mason's still on don't tell her. Liam is racked with guilt. He's like, I need to tell her. And Mason's like, don't do it. She won't be able to handle it. And again, I'm like, this is so fucking stupid. This is not gonna go down well. So then Rain comes out because she's been watching them, okay? She sees them arguing. So she's like, what is going on? And this is when Mason says the whole crap about him having issues with his company. I forgot. Tries to divert her attention as much as he can. When they get in the car, he's like kissing her, trying to keep her distracted. He's full on fingering her, ready to fuck. And now it's starting to get Liam upset because Liam's like, I'm just not even needed. Like, she doesn't even care. And so she wants Liam and she reaches for Liam and he's like, no. And that wrecks her. So now she's feeling awful. She's feeling rejected. All of these compounding emotions are now on her because of how they're choosing to deal with this situation. It's absolutely crazy. And so Liam had even said to Mason, I think he said it, well, before they got in the car and he was talking to him, he was just kind of like, if we go there and she gets ambushed, what are we going to do then? And Mason's like, we'll protect her. And he's like, she's going to know we lied to her. It's going to piss her off. That's not going to be good. He still stands by, this is what we need to do. Okay. So they finally arrive at Shadows. She winds up crying, I want to say in Liam's arms afterwards because she, felt rejected and all that crap. And so she fell asleep, and now boom, we're back at Shadows. They're back at Shadows. Here's the plan Mason has come with. So he's going to take Rain out for breakfast while Liam deals with Gwyneth. So Rain's going to her room. She's going to take a shower, and then Mason's going to take her. And she, of course, is like saying to Liam, "Why aren't you going?" And Liam is like, "I got to handle some stuff, unfortunately, X, Y, and Z." She looked sad, but she said she understood. So Seth takes her away. Mason and Mason asked Beck if he could get a DNA test and drop it out before he had to do the surgery. He was like, "I got you, and I'll put in a rush on the results. 24 hours, boom, you'll know." So then Mason and Liam talk, and Liam can't hide the jealousy. And Mason was just like, "I was doing that to help you get your mind off of everything. I'm sorry, to get her mind off of everything. And to show that we were on one accord." He's like, "I wasn't trying to make you jealous or make you seem like she was mine. Like, no, that's not what this was." So he apologized. Mason apologized to him for it. And then Mason tells him, "I think we probably do need to tell her the truth." And I'm like, now you think you need to? Fucking stupid. I'm sorry. So Pike also lets Mason know that good old dad Bill Kendall popped up over there asking for him. And I'm not sure why they're shocked that he did this. You cut off his finances, okay? You told him, "I'm not going to give you any more money," and you thought he was just going to be okay with it? He's a despicable person. But they seem to be shocked that he was coming around. It is what it is. So Mason's going to handle that. Liam's got to go deal with Gwyneth. Mason's like, "Put her up in a hotel, put her in under an underpass. I don't care. Just get her out of here, And Liam, of course, is like, "That might be my kid." And he's like, "Well, then just put her in a nice hotel. But again, if y'all had told the girl, I don't feel like all these issues would have. It might have been maybe a little rough because she is an overthinker and her mind does go some places. But I don't think her mind would have went the way it went without her knowing. Because now it's gone darker. So Mason decides he's going to take her to breakfast, and we will see how this works out. I think they said maybe later that night they'll tell her, but I don't know. I'm just like, this is some mess. So then we switch to Rain's POV. Seth and Beck take her down to her room, and Gwyneth is now out of Liam's room. So she, of course, is asking the guys questions like, "Tell me the truth. What's going on? Is Liam leaving me? Is this what this is about? I'm a big girl. I can take it." They were like, "No, that is not what is going on. You could not pry those two away from you with a crowbar. They love you so much. And so Seth was like, "Listen, I was there. I've known Liam for over 10 years. He has never loved anybody the way that he loves you. So no, it is nothing like that." But she knows that something's going on. But they're not going to tell her. So Beck, of course, was like, "It's going to be okay, blah, blah, blah." It's so funny how their friendship has developed and how nice and sweet it is, and seeing how it started. It's so nice. So anyway, she goes to take a shower. She's looking for Liam's robe. It's not there. And then she sees a blue pacifier in his bathroom. And she's thinking, why is there a blue pacifier in Liam's bathroom? Mason calls the dad, Bill. They go back and forth on the phone. The daddy's like, "Where's my money?" And Mason's like, "I told you I wasn't giving you any more money." The dad says, "I'm going to make your life a living hell. I'm going to ruin you. I'm going to say that you RAPED'd my daughter. I'm going to say all kind of stuff." And then Mason lets him know, "I still have the pictures from what you did. I've got a doctor that checked her out," and all this type of stuff he's spewing. He's telling him. And he's like, "And I will put those pictures up, and I'll make sure your neighborhood." No, he didn't say he'll put the pictures up, but he said, "I'll make sure your neighborhood knows what type of person you really are." Bill is like, "That's slander. I'll sue you," and all this type of stuff. And clearly we see the situation isn't dead. I knew that was not going to be that. It wasn't going to go away that fast. So then Seth comes in to talk to Mason, and Mason finds out a lot about Liam that he didn't know. So he thought that Liam was doing fine after the divorce. He didn't realize how hard of a time he had gone through, because he thought, okay, Gwyneth cheating on him, it broke his trust and stuff like that. But Seth lets him know he kind of was a sadist for a little bit with the subs back in New York. And I'm the reason that he came out here, because I was like, he needs to be in a better place. I had no idea you had your own bullshit going on and that you were in love with someone and all this type of stuff. So, of course, when Liam comes out here, he sees what's going on and he decides now he can focus on your problems. He's going to try and fix it. So this all is new information to Mason, and he's like, oh, I didn't realize that. So Seth was wanting him to understand Gwyneth being here is a big fucking deal for him, because he hadn't dealt with a lot of stuff with her. So this is all being rushed at him. On top of, we know he's got jealousy issues, right? He's not fully into this threesome, polyamorous, however you want to call it, relationship. He still has this jealousy issue, compounded with Gwyneth being here, compounded with a fucking kid that might be his. He's got a lot. He's got a lot coming at him. And that kind of helped Mason understand, okay, this is a bigger deal. Because he was just kind of like, he'll take the text, figure it out, it'll be done. Because he didn't realize there were lingering issues for Liam. Mason thanks Seth and lets him know, thank you for letting me know all this, and now I know how to move forward. So then Rain gets in the car with Mason, and she's still asking questions about Liam. Why couldn't he just talk about his business in front of us? And he's just kind of like, he'll deal with it. If he needs us, he'll let us know. So then they get to the little diner. She doesn't really have an appetite. And then she asks him about Liam, if he was into baby play, if he had that type of fetish. And she says, she found this blue pacifier in his bathroom. In his mind, he's thinking, shit, is he, I don't know what he's into, because I thought I knew him completely, and I just found out some new things from Seth. But what he told her, is, I don't think he has those type of issues. I don't think he's into that. And she was like, because I can't do that. She's like, with my daddy issues, I can't do that, And so Mason's like, we'll figure it out. So he texts Liam. He stepped away to do it. Liam didn't respond back. And so he's going to have Rain take a nap when they get back. And then he'll meet up with Liam at the bar. And so he messaged Liam about that. So then we switch to Liam's POV. He goes into the room. He sees the baby. The baby's crying. He picked the baby up. Baby's wet. He hears the blow dryer. Gwyneth comes out. She looks casual, which is something he's never seen her do. Like, she doesn't have on any makeup. She still has her platinum blonde hair, but she's wearing jeans, a sweater. Like, this is not her normal attire. She is Vogue ready every day. So she was like, hi, Liam, X, Y, and Z. This is your son, Kyle. All this bullshit. So he was like, is that my son? She says, I've missed you and all this. He says, you didn't answer my question. She goes, yes, he's your son. She says, after that night that we had, I thought we were going to get back together. But when, you woke up, you were so grumpy and upset, and I was hurt. And so I went back to London to care for my father and lick my wounds. And I found out later that I was pregnant. And I didn't call because I was still upset about the fact that you didn't want me anymore. All this crap. So he's like, well, what do you want now? It's not money. You've got plenty of that. So what is it? So she comes for money as well. And she got a really big settlement from him. So she says, according to his psychotherapist, now the baby ain't even 6 months yet. Okay. But according to the psychotherapist, he's having problems because he doesn't have a father in his life. He told her, listen, we'll take a test. If it's my son, I'll take responsibility for him. She's like, why would you need to take a test? You know, he's got your dark hair, your eyes. Like, why do you need to take a test? And he looked at her and he says, you really think I'm going to trust you after how I found you? When you had my wedding ring on? And she's like, I made a mistake because I wasn't mature enough, but I realized how wonderful you are and how much I love you and all this type of shit. And he said, I don't care anything about that. He's like, we're doing the test. She's like, but why would you want to subject our son to that? She said, he said, he's not even 6 months. He's not getting pricked with anything. It's just going to be a swab to the mouth. That's it. She's putting up too much of a fight. If this is his kid, it is going to shock the shit out of me. Because why are you putting up such a fight? And she's all like, she just wants him and she just, needs for them to be a family and all this type of bullcrap. So she really thought he was going to be stupid and just be the father to the child. Again, he does see, the dark hair, couple features, but that really doesn't mean anything. He needs a test. So she was like, I know you have someone new. And he's like, what I got going on has nothing to do with you. He's like, I'll put you up in a hotel until we get the results back from the test. Because she didn't get a hotel. She was like, I thought we were going to stay with you. And he's like, that's not happening, but I'll get you a hotel. And he left. But of course now he's terrified because you got to tell her, our girl Rain, what you should have fucking told her from the get-go. Liam and Mason talk, and he tells Mason what happened, and then Beck comes in, and Beck brings the kit, and he gives the name of the lab tech. I think his name's Tom. And so the baby's sleeping, so he's like, when the baby wakes up, I'll do it. Beck leaves. Well, before Beck leaves, he actually tells them, because Liam was saying about the situation with Gwyneth, and he's like, well, let her use my condo for a couple days while you get the results. He's like, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be at the hospital. So that really touched Liam because, they didn't have the best relationship starting off, but, Beck has been amazing to Rain, and he's been a great friend to Mason, and really good friend to Liam too. So I'm glad they're coming around to each other, because I thought Beck was just a pain master and he was crazy, but he does seem like a pretty good guy. He's just a bit of a sadist. But he seems decent. So they decide, Beck leaves, Liam and Mason decide they're going to lay everything out for Rain tonight. They're going to tell her everything, and they're also going to show her the house that Liam bought. They want her to feel secure and this whole spiel. And so then Mason, he of course wants to just stab Gwyneth. He just, he can't stand that woman. But he wants to take a stab at talking to her. He wants to see if he can break her to see exactly why she's here. She's got the mask up, when she talks to Liam, but he feels like maybe I can get the truth of why she's really here, because it's not just that she wants a family. If it ain't money, it's something else. And he's like, I'm gonna find out. Mason goes to talk to Gwyneth, and of course she's like, this isn't a good time. Kyle's sleeping, and he's like, that's fine, we'll go right here. So he pulls her into a little room. They're closed. Her nipples are hard. She's aroused. We find out that back when Liam and Gwyneth were married, Liam and Mason had got really drunk, and then Liam went to sleep, and then she got on Mason's lap and was like grinding against him, but Mason wouldn't fuck her. She of course says, oh, I must have tripped and I probably couldn't find my balance. I say, girl, bye. So then she says he just misunderstood and all this type of shit. And then they start drawing like real blows. So because he wants to know why she's there, she of course lets him know, I know you're back to sharing a woman because I can smell her perfume, the same one I smelled in this room. And she's like, I hope she doesn't meet the same fate as Juliet. And he tells her how he knew she was nothing but a manipulative whore. He knew that's what she was the whole time. And she proved him right with the fact of how she was found, sucking and fucking. So she, of course, was like, I can give Liam all the love he needs. And she's telling Mason, you need to find someone that can love you for you, since you clearly haven't found that. And he told her, what's your number? Tell me your number. She's like, you can't afford me. She's like, I'm not here for that. I'm here for Liam. And he was like, you're not going to get him. And she's like, we'll see. We switch to Rain, and she feels Liam get into bed with her. And of course, he held her and he told her to kiss him. And she did. And it felt nice, especially after his rejection in the vehicle earlier. So then they wind up fucking. And he still won't answer the question, which is what the hell is going on. Okay? But because she needed to feel him, she just let it go. So then, also, I'm sorry, before they fucked, he did say, we're gonna have to get you on birth control tomorrow. Like, I'm tired of this condom. Like, I need to be in you, bareback. So then Mason comes in. He's looking pissed, but it's not the situation. It's about the fact that he was coming from Gwyneth. But again, Rain doesn't know this, so she's looking at Mason like, what the hell? So Mason's like, we'll take a shower together, X, Y, and Z. Liam had already said, it'll be a couple days for him to straighten out everything. And she was like, okay, am I going to see you at night? And he was like, yes, you'll see me at night. So she goes and gets in the shower. Liam and Mason have a conversation. Mason tells him what happened. So then he goes to get Gwyneth. She's coming around the corner. And he's like, what are you doing here? I told you to stay put. She was like, I just have to tell you what your friend did. He accosted me. And he was like, yeah, right, But he knows his friend. He knows what happened. He knows Mason can play mind games as well. And she could smell sex on him. And she was like, I can't believe you would do that. And he was like, why wouldn't I? It was absolutely amazing. And so he told her, you're leaving. And she's like, no, I need to be here. You need to spend time with your son. He was like, no, I made arrangements for you for a couple days. And so eventually he's able to convince her to get her shit. And they go outside. And guess who's back? Fucking Bill. So then him and Bill go back and forth. Bill wants his money, basically saying, no, if y'all want to keep fucking her, you're going to have to pay. And Liam is like, how fucking disgusting. You're her father and you're trying to pimp her out. And then he jacked up Bill and told him he was going to stop calling Rain, because he kept calling Rain a slut. And he's like, you're going to stop calling the woman I love a slut. So then Bill says, you're going to regret this. And then he gets in his truck, and he leaves. Gwyneth goes, I sure hope those psychotic genes don't follow your little love Rain. He told her to shut up, and then asked where the car seat was for the child. She was like, oh, the plane lost it. So you ain't got no car seat for the baby. What? She's rich. She's not someone who has no access to funds. She has plenty of money. So you're telling me that you didn't go and get another one? I think something is very much array with this girl. Because this doesn't sound like this is even her fucking kid at this point. I'm like, this is some type of game, but then what game is she playing, and why is she playing it? Because she can't possibly love Liam. She can't. That'll shock me if it really is that she just wants him back. So she's trying to tell Liam, I know what you need and all this type of stuff, and lets him know that she is never gonna stop trying to get him back. We switch to Rain's POV, and she winds up going to see Seth because she needs answers, right? Nobody's giving her any, so she's gonna do it. So she had that wonderful fuck session with Liam, played a little bit with Hammer in the shower. They're now both gone, and she has peeped that jealousy from Liam, and it's worried her. So she goes to Seth, and she's like, do you know what's going on? He says, I may or may not. Which definitely meant he knows, but he's not going to go into detail. But what he did tell her was that you've got to give them the space to tell you. They do not have to tell you at this very moment. So, okay, I'm going to say this. Because of the dynamic of the relationship, right? You get to carve out what your relationship is going to be. And so, if we do it from a dom submissive POV, then I feel like I get what he's saying. You wait until your doms tell you what's going on. There shouldn't be any back talk, X, Y, and Z, because that's supposed to be the dynamic between the dom and the submissive, right? But I think where we have an issue and why it feels so icky with them is because they like go in and out of complete dom type status with her, because she is different. You can't treat her like everybody else. And she has been told, you need to give us complete honesty and we will give it to you in return. They didn't, however, say they do it at the exact moment you think they should. So from this perspective, I do see what Seth is saying, which is their job is to protect you. And if they know something's going on and they know it's going to affect you in a negative way, it's their job to keep it from you until it's okay to let you know. So that did make sense to her, and I do get it. But I guess because they go in and out of what type of a relationship it is, they're not this, like the way a lot of doms are with their submissive, they're a little different. I feel like they're more dom submissive in the bedroom. But outside of that, they're very much like, no, talk to us. Tell us how you feel. They're very caring. Not saying that doms and submissives aren't caring. I'm just saying it's a different type of dynamic. And so in her mind, it's like, you all told me I had to be honest. I had to tell you all the truth immediately. And she automatically assumed they were going to do the same to her. And that's why this is bothering her. But Seth saying to her, look at it from this point of view. You're the submissive. You need to trust them and give them the space to tell you. Because let's be honest, it's only been not even a full 24 hours. I'm just saying. I'll give him that. It hasn't been a terribly long time. Unfortunately, with the track record of the relationship, it doesn't take long for chaos to ensue with all of them, But she hugged him, she thanked him, and this made her feel a little bit better. We switched to Hammer's POV. He was looking at the security footage after he gotten that text message from Liam about Bill. He's got his gun in his hip. He's like ready. Rain comes, knocks on the door, comes in. She talks to him, and she's like, "Where's Liam? I kind of want to talk to both of you." And he's like, "You know what? If he's gone, I'll talk to him later." So he's like, "Tell me what's on your mind." So she said, "I know something's going on, but I also trust you all, and you'll tell me when it's the right time. It is difficult for me when you don't tell me things. It's very hard on me to not go to places of doubt and insecurities. But I want to be a good submissive, and I trust you both. And I love you both. So I'll wait for you all to tell me." And in that moment, Mason realized the idea of keeping this from her was stupid. She could have handled it. He was treating her as if she was completely broken as before, again, which was what I was saying. What was the purpose? Did you really believe there was progress or not? Because you treated her like she did the day she ran, well, a couple times she's run, that's how you've treated her. So she's got to do some errands, and she also wants to pick up some lingerie for them because our boy Mason was like, "I'm coming with you," because he's thinking about Bill being out there. But Bill doesn't really want her. Bill just wants the money. So he just tells her, make sure you keep your phone on you. and be ready to leave by 5:30. Be back and ready." And she said, "Okay." We switched to our boy Liam. He's finally gotten to Beck's condo. So they had to go get a car seat. They've gotten some groceries, and he's setting up the playpen. The baby's crying, but she's not too concerned with the baby, which again is like something's off. So he says to her, "What's wrong with him?" She goes, "I don't know." He's like, "You're his mother. What do you mean you don't know?" So she's like, "Maybe he's just hungry." So she goes and fixes him a bottle. Before she fixes him the bottle, Liam says to her, like, "We're going to do a test." And she was like, "We don't have to do that right now. It can wait a couple days. We don't have to, take him to do a test," because she doesn't know that he has the test on him right now. So again, something's off. And that really made me feel like this bitch is lying. So she goes, fixes the bottle. While she's in there, he's changing the baby, and he takes the swab in the child's mouth, puts it in the thing, puts that in his pocket. So then she comes back and he feeds the baby. She's like, "I gotta go take a shower." So while she's taking the shower, he takes that time to go through her purse. She doesn't have anything in her purse for a baby. That is very alarming. Then he goes through her phone. This bitch, all of her contacts are just guys. Pictures of her partying, nothing in there about her having a baby, because she had showed him a birth certificate, but it didn't look right. Um, there's pictures of guys jacking off, and she's sending pictures of her fingering herself. Like, this is not anything like what she said. This is recent stuff that's been happening this whole time. She said she had been chast since she'd been with him that night, and she hasn't been with anybody since. But this phone is telling a different story. He had also called Seth, and Seth found out that there's no name for Kyle Sinclair, which is uh, Gwyneth's last name, and no Kyle O'Neill, Liam's last name. He doesn't see any records that show she's had a kid based on everything. And then you got these pictures. I'm like, I don't think this is her child. He's thinking it too. So he's decided he's going to get the truth out of her. So he's going to manipulate it out of her. So what he does, she comes out of the shower and she's in some barely there lingerie, and she tells him, you know, how, she's looked up how to be a good submissive, and "I'm yours now, master." And she gets on her knees, and he's like, "Oh, really? Are you sure you can handle my needs?" And she's like, "Yes, I'm sure I can." So he tells her she needs a safe word. She's like, "No, I don't need a safe word." He says, "Oh, yes, you do. And if you use this safe word, we'll never be together again." So the word he gives her is abstinence. so he put So then he made her bend over on the couch. He hit her with a paddle, because you got to remember, they're at Beck's place, right? And he's got the pains shit. So there's a paddle he had that had slut imprinted into it. And he kept telling her to call herself a slut, saying that turns me on. But what it was is she had called Rain a slut, so he wanted to make her call herself. Oh my gosh. Then he hit her with the paddle, so now she's got slut on one of her cheeks. She's in pain. Then he had her put on these Japanese nipple clamps. He squeezed them. They hurt her. And then he filled a bowl with water and told her to lick it like a dog. He says he's in the puppy play. She wouldn't do that. She kept like, let's just do it normal, and then we can do your freaky stuff. He's like, "No, that's not what I said I wanted." Then he tied her up to tied her legs up to a chair and had her spread open, right? Gave her this big ass dildo and told her to shove it in herself. Of course, it didn't fit. He was calling, her bluff, saying, "I don't even think that's your baby. So what are you really doing here?" And she's like, I told you why I'm here. You just choose not to believe me. And he was like, and I never will. So then we switch to Rain's POV, and guess where she winds up? She is at Beck's condo because she was out doing errands and she wanted to bring Beck a thank you basket. And so she goes to the doorman, asks if she can go up and put it in his fridge. The doorman says, oh, you're on the list to come and go whenever you want. But he was like, he does have house guests. I'll go with you in case they don't open up. I'll open it for you. Well, as she goes up, she sees Liam burling out of the elevator. He doesn't see her. She calls after him. He doesn't say anything. He's on his phone. And she's like, what the fuck is he doing in Beck's penthouse? So then she goes up. Sure enough, opens the door. Good old Gwyneth. She knew who it was because she had Googled Gwyneth. So she knew this was his ex-wife. And the woman thought she was a maid. And so she was just like, it will start in the bedroom. She's looking around and she can tell that a whole scene played out because there's all these toys. So then she sees her going to get the baby and it looks like he's back with his ex. And this is exactly why you should have told her what was going on. Because now we have, of course, Gwyneth rubbing it in because she realizes this is Rain. And she's telling her how her and Liam are back together and telling her never to trust him again. I'll make sure he stays away from you. He's such a player with that silver tongue. And she's laying it on thick, and the shit makes sense to Rain because, again, there's already a lack of confidence in the love, right? And then now this all looks exactly like Gwyneth is saying. And she's 5 seconds away from crumbling, but she was like she was not going to cry in front of this woman. She bolts out of there fast. And it's just like, it could have been avoided. It really could have been. We switch to Hammer's POV. Liam's back. Liam tells him everything that went down. Mason checks, aka Hammer, but I like to call him Mason, checks his phone. And he's like, it's after 5 and she should be back by now. So he goes to check her phone, where she is. Because remember, he's got that, that app on there. And he sees that she was near Beck's place. And they know automatically what's happened. And he backtrack it and he can see where she's going in the building and all this shit. So they know she's going to be pissed. They wait for her outside. She comes whipping in. She's cussing them out. She's going off. They're calm. And they're like, we're going to take you inside. If you can be quiet. If you can't be quiet, then we'll put a ball gag in your mouth. She, of course, was like, both of you lied to me. And, of course, she thought the worst and thought that Liam went to be with his ex-wife. And she finally allows Liam to tell her the whole story. And we find out they didn't have a BDSM type of marriage, right, in their relationship. It was vanilla, as they say. And all Rain heard was that your wife, you didn't want to do this with her, but this is good enough for your whore. So he had to explain, no, that's not what it is. He denied himself this lifestyle because it was a pleasure. And so after what happened with Juliet, he decided he wasn't going to do it anymore. This caused someone to off themselves. He felt he wasn't going to do it anymore. But then after the divorce, he decided he was not going to keep denying himself. And he was going to be who he was. And they tell her they have a surprise for her. They're like, do you think you can chill out long enough for us to show you it? So he goes to get the key, and what did they say? They still got another hurdle. Oh yeah, they haven't talked about the fact she doesn't know about the money. So the money that he's been paying Bill every month that he just stopped, she doesn't know anything about that. So I'm like, oh, that might get messy too. And it's kind of lingering in Mason's mind as well, because you're saying you're going to be completely honest and we're still leaving out some stuff. So, I don't know how that's going to play out. It might not make her that mad. It might make her upset. I don't know. I don't know, and we'll see. Go on the drive. She's still pissy. She's looking, and they pull into this neighborhood that she used to take her bike and ride to, and just kind of look at these big houses and wonder how great these families probably lived. So they pull up to a house. It's like at the in the cul-de-sac, huge home, but it still feels cozy. And she's like, "Why are we here?" So her mind's thinking like, "Are they dropping me off for like training? Like, what is this?" She's got all these thoughts, and so she gets out with them. They get her to the door, and Liam gives her this perfect speech, and he basically lets her know that this is her house. He bought this house for her, that this it's in her name. She will always have a place to call her own. And she was like, "What? Oh my gosh." And then Mason told her, "Whatever you want to do to the inside, that's my gift to you. I want to make this as beautiful as you are to us." Melting her heart. So she, of course, asked Liam when he did it, and he had done it before Thanksgiving. She started to feel bad because she's realizing what she had done. And he's like, "Don't do that. This is the right time. This is when it need to happen because it's the three of us that are going to live here, that are going to be the forever. He lets her know she's not a conquest. We both love you. And she, of course, told them she loved them as well. So it took her about 3 tries, but eventually she was able to stop shaking enough to put the key in the hole and open up to the beautiful home. She loved it. The kitchen. Now, the only thing she didn't like was the countertops, which they knew she wasn't going to like, and they had told her she could change it again to whatever she wants. So then they go outside by the pool, and Liam tells her, you know why I like this the most is because you can't see anything, so they can fucking do all kind of shit out there. So then they start to kiss and stuff like that, but they don't. They only had one condom. And then Liam remembered, oh yeah, I stocked upstairs. So he had gotten the bedroom and everything ready. So there's lube, everything. So then Liam wanted to fuck her in the ass, and Mason wanted her pussy. So they get upstairs. They're fingering her. They're sucking her titties. They're making her come, and I think Liam made her come. And then it gets real because they started with the whole thing of how she had believed what Gwyneth had told her, and how she didn't allow any possibility that what Gwyneth was saying was a lie, and how she had handed over her power to Gwyneth. And it turned into a sub dom session, right? And they were like, you really didn't trust in our love. But you know what? Y'all didn't really trust in the love either. Because y'all didn't fucking tell her the truth. I'm just saying. So they wanted her to name 5 things that she liked about herself. She could only name 3. She said her eyes, her legs, and gosh, what was the other thing? I can't remember. It'll come back to me later. So then they want her to recite the thing that they had given, that remember Seth and Beck had given her at the lodge. She memorized it, but it makes her feel uncomfortable to say these things. And they're like, it makes you feel uncomfortable because you don't believe it yet, but you will. So she started saying it, and then they were ready to have some fun. So they have a great fuck. Liam's in the ass, Hammer's in the coochie. They pined it out, and then Liam gets a call, and it's Beck. So the surgery is not going to go down because the person's still on life support in Cleveland. So they've got to wait like another 8 hours or whatever. So he came back to the condo, and Gwyneth and the baby didn't look right, and apparently the baby was like throwing up green. So he took him to the hospital, but he's exhausted. So he's like, "Can you come?" So Liam's like, "Yeah, give me about 30 minutes." So he told Mason and Rain what was going on. And of course, Rain wanted to come with him. She was worried about him. She's like, "You haven't eaten, you haven't rested." He's like, "I'll be okay. I'll get some in the cafeteria. I'll sleep in one of the chairs." But I'm like, if he goes to sleep, is she going to know about the swab that he took? Like, I'm just thinking, like, what is this woman going to do? Because she's got to be up to something. So he takes them back to Shadows, and then he leaves. So then it's after midnight. Rain's baking because that's what she does when her mind's racing. And she's made Mason's apple spice muffins, and she's about to start on a pie. And she's talking to Mason about Liam. Has he heard anything? Because she's been texting, she's not getting a response. She doesn't trust Gwyneth. She's like she's up to something. Just all kind of stuff. She's like, there's a reason she came back. She's gonna do something. She's not just gonna give up that fast. So he commands her to stop baking the pie, and he's gonna do something to take away some of her worry. So Mason took Rain to do a scene, okay? So there are people there. They see this. This was the first time people are seeing her with Mason. Everyone was very shocked. Everyone was paying attention. So he tied her up on the bench. She told him no whips. Now whips are his thing, but he's got to respect the fact that she said no. So he used a flogger. He got her to subspace. Seth was there. He watched over. And I'm like, that's good because you have to watch Mason because he likes pain too. I think he's a little that's why him and Beck get along so well. He a little sadist too. We switch back to Liam. Beck is outside waiting for him. He's like, what's going on? And he's like, it could be an issue. The child could have messed up intestines. It could be something else. It could be deadly for the child. And so he gets going. He tells him, where Gwyneth is in the waiting room, tells him how to get there. He goes. So Gwyneth looked a mess. He asked her what happened. She said the baby was feverish and then started vomiting green. And she was like, so I gave him some crackers. And he was like, why would you give a baby crackers? She's like, well, that settles my stomach. I don't know what to do. And so he looked at her and he said, are you even this child's mother? So she confesses to everything. So this is what happened. This is her sister Kitty's baby. Kitty and her husband George. This is their fucking kid. Her dad is really dying, which Seth had confirmed as well. The dad wanted to take one last trip to New York, but he was too sick to take it. Doctors won't let him go, right? But they still went to New York. Well, Kitty's been suffering from postpartum, and George was like, let's take a couple's cruise, and Gwyneth agreed to watch the baby. So even though the dad's leaving them a lot of money, it was a matter of who the company was going to go to that he owns, which is worth £1 billion. So the father had told her if she married Liam again, he would give her the business because Liam keeps her in line. Otherwise, the company's going to go to Kitty. Because Gwyneth wants to sell the business. She's already got a buyer lined up. Whereas Kitty wants to run the business. She wants to keep it in the family. So when she got to New York and got to New York, and then Kitty, and her husband went on this thing, this is when she thought of this idea. So she's thinking, I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to seduce Liam. Well, when she went to the club, he wasn't there. And everyone assumed that the baby she had was Liam's, and she just didn't correct anybody. So she brought the baby out to LA, and she's like, I didn't mean for it to spin out of control. It's just that I figured you would want to be a family with the baby, and then I could get you to marry me, and I could get my father's company. I knew it had to be something big. I knew it had to be. So then he went to message Mason and Rain, but his phone's dead. Rain was freaking out because she had been sending those messages, and then we find out it wasn't. Mason was right. His phone's dead. They didn't get through. So Liam says, why didn't you just ask me for help? And she's like, well, I didn't think you'd help me after the way you found me with the trainer. She's like, which I didn't mean. It didn't mean anything to me. It just took me, a long time to realize what I, had done and all this type of stuff. But Liam realizes she's no different. She's the same selfish person. And she was like, would you have helped me? if I had asked? And he was like, you'll never know. We switched to Liam. It was after 1 a.m. when he finally was able to leave the baby. It wasn't life threatening. So he took Gwyneth and the kid back to Beck's place because Beck was like, he's going to his house. So he left them and he hears people. He's back at Shadows. He hears people talking about a scene from earlier. He didn't know what it was, who it was. And then he went and talked to Seth, and Seth told him about the two had seen together. And it ruffled Liam. And Seth was like, you got to get control of that. You two share her. And when he was there, he said that he was like, he said that she belonged to the both of you. So they had a drink and he overheard another couple talking about it. These two guys saying about the scene earlier and saying how, Mason had said, Mason and Rain had always wanted each other and that, he says he's sharing her with the Irishman, but who knows if that's true or not. Well, that sets Liam off. And so now he's like, I gotta go confront them and see what's really going on. I'm like, oh shit. And freaking, what's his face? Mason afterwards, they fucked. I don't think I mentioned that. But Mason and Rain had a nice hard fuck and he marked her. And she told him to do it. She's like, do whatever you need, unleash on me. So, oh, this is not going to be good. This is not going to be good. So Liam is beyond furious. He finally gets to Mason's room, and there he sees Rain laid out naked, bruises on her body. He gets even more upset. So then Mason comes out of the bathroom, grabs his shoulder, and he's like, don't you fucking touch me. And Mason's like, what the hell? Like, don't do this out here. Let's go in the bathroom. Let's not do this in front of her. And Liam's like, so you just want to try and control everything again. So he accuses him of all this stuff, telling him you waited until I was gone so you could mark her, put these bruises on her, and you did this same bullshit the first time you took her, marking her for yourself. You just want her for you. Just all this kind of stuff. So then Rain wakes up. And she has on this little robe. And she's so happy to see Liam. And when she goes to reach for him, he gives her a look of like, don't you touch me. So she's like, what's wrong? And he's like, don't act like you care. And all of his thoughts, the shit just came out. He was like, you couldn't wait to do a scene with Mason. You couldn't wait to let him do this to you. I don't mean anything. He's the real one that you want. You two clearly love each other so much, and I'm the third wheel, and I'm tired of it, and I'm not going to do this anymore. And she was like, it is not like that. She's like, I am so sorry if I've made you feel that way. He tells her, it doesn't matter. Just be happy with him, and he leaves. And so he goes to his room, locks the door. Mason comes bamming on the door. He won't open it. And then eventually the door opens, and it's our girl, Rain. So he was talking to her about the bruising and stuff, and he was just kind of like, what did he say? This is what I forgot about. When he was like throwing the accusations around at Rain, Mason kind of stepped in front of Rain and said, don't you dare sit up here and try and make her feel guilty about what it was that she needed. Because she needed, he felt, to make her mind like go to subspace so she just didn't have any thoughts and she could just relax. Okay, she needed that because she was so worried about Liam, it was driving her a little crazy. Okay, so when she comes in the room and she talks to him, she told him how much she loves him. She was sorry that she hadn't shown him how much she did. And she says he only did that scene with me because I was driving myself crazy worrying about you and what Gwyneth was going to try and do. And I had worked myself up so bad that Mason thought this will be the best thing for me to do because I was baking. And so he immediately goes, Were you baking sugar cookies? And she said, No, I was baking muffins. And he said, What kind? And she said, Apple spice. He said, Exactly. That's Mason's favorite. Your first thought is to please him, not me. You've never once asked me what I like. And she says, Well, everything I put in front of you, you devour, so I didn't know. And she's like, But I'm sorry, I should have asked. So he had said that he likes date scones. Date. I think they're called date scones. And she's like telling him, I'll do whatever it is to please you. My intent was never to make you feel like you didn't matter. Um, I love you so much. Like, you've taken care of me so much. I just want to take care of you. Let me prove it to you. Let me show you. And she tells him, you're the one that taught me about love. And she tells him there's no option of just being me and Mason. It has to be the three of us, or I can't be with just one of you. I love you equally. So she's like, Tell me, sir, what you need. So he told her he wanted a grilled cheese and a cold stout. And so she went and ran his water for him. She undressed him. He didn't mean to get hard, but his dick got hard. And then he kissed her, and she was giving herself completely to him. She was like, Whatever you need, you can do with me with whatever you want to. So he had always been really gentle with her because he, of course, views her as very fragile. But she's like, I can take whatever you need to give me. If you need to be rougher, you can do it. She said, Mark me if that's what you need to do. So he gets in. She goes to make the grilled cheese. She brings it back to him. He eats it, and she washes his hair. And afterwards, he tells her, like, okay, show me how much you love me. Make love to me, showing me how you feel. So they have this all long, drawn out thing. She's kissing all over him. She's sucking his nipples. Um, and then Hammer comes in, aka Mason, and he just sits in the chair and he just says to Rain, Bring our boy back to us. And that's what she does. So she winds up fucking him raw. And she said she was in the middle of her cycle. And I was kind of like, what the fuck? So I'm like, that's going to look like a murder scene. But at first, when she went to get the condom, I'm sorry, he went to get the condom, she was like, No, I love you. I want all of you. So that's what they did. That's when they fucked raw. So he also asked Mason if it was okay. And Mason was like, It's magnificent, enjoy it. So that's when she plopped down and they did it. So afterwards, they laid, because Hammer, he jacked, Mason, he jacked off. And they're all laying in the bed. They fell asleep really quickly. But she woke up like not too long later because they both snore real bad. And she's like, Oh my gosh, we're going to make sure we have to get a bigger bed than just a queen size. So she gets up, she's wired, and she thinks, you know what, I'm going to make his date scones. So when he gets up, he'll have them. So she's looking up the recipes. She finally finds one that seems right. And the only thing she doesn't have are the dates. So she's got everything out, but she needs those. So she's like, I'll just go to the store now. So she goes to the room, gets her purse, her phone, her keys, goes outside. She sees the SUV. She sees Seth's car, the Audi, that's Mason's, and then her car. I don't remember what type of car she has. But when she goes out, she also sees a white van. And when she hit the key fob to get into her car, someone grabbed her from the back, covered her mouth, and she felt something sticking in her back. We switch to Mason. He wakes up, realizes she's not in the bed. He almost spooned with Liam. So he looks around. He looks in the kitchen because he sees the lights on. And he sees all this baking stuff out. So he's like, oh, shoot, well, I wonder if something's bothering her. And because this early in the morning is not she's only doing that when something's bothering with her. So it's around 5 a.m. He looks at all the ingredients because she left up the recipe. So he sees she's trying to make some date scones, but looks like she's missing dates. So he's thinking, I hope she didn't like go out by herself. She should have like asked one of us to go with her. Well, he goes to her room, doesn't see her stuff, goes outside, and her car door is open, her keys, her phone, purse, all on the floor, ground. He knows something's happened. So he runs back inside, screaming for Liam. That wakes up Seth and Beck. He goes, and so they all go to the security room, and sure enough, they see on the cameras that she didn't just go without a fight. So she was fighting the assailant. And she made sure, because she knows where the cameras are, that they could see the face. And yes, it is her father, Bill Kendall. But what happened was Bill took a stun gun and that was it. She collapsed. So he hauled her off in the van. So Seth's like, we need to call the police. Maybe we can get a, see a partial plate or something. But Mason and Liam are like, nah, we're just going to kill him. That's it. We don't need them. So Beck is like, I'm coming with you. You guys need to wear gloves because fingerprints will get you convicted. So he goes with them and they go to Bill's house and doors open. No one's in there. It's so disgusting. Beck hadn't been in there the first time, so he had no idea. He was about to throw up. It was awful. But she's nowhere to be found. Now, on the way there, there was a call made, or a call was coming in to Liam from Gwyneth, but he was like, he didn't have time for her. And I'm like, this bitch got something to do with this. She's got to. Because I'm like, £1 billion for a company, and you think she's just going to take no as an answer? I'm like, nah, I think she's got something to do with this. They get back to Shadows. The police are there now because Liam had Seth go ahead and call once they saw there was no one at Bill's house. So thankfully, the chief or sergeant, he might be a chief or a sergeant, he's a member of Shadows. So he was able to help better with the situation because the cop that was initially talking to them had like an attitude because people can be very judgmental about certain lifestyles. Okay, so BDSM isn't looked out it's not looked at as normal, and so the cop was giving him a hard time. So thankfully, it's funny like he's doing that and doesn't have a clue that his own chief is actually a part of this club as well. So there's an older couple named Vivian and Donald, and they've got grown kids, but BDSM is their thing. And they're kind of like, they take care of everyone. So Vivian takes care of a lot of the subs that don't have anyone. And a lot of times if Mason has to go out of town, Donald will watch over the club. So Mason is talking to Donald, and Donald's like, listen, if you need to go, I'll handle everything around here. You just let me know. So then Gwyneth's ass shows up with the baby, and we find out everything. But, of course, they stay away from the cops when they learn this information. So Gwyneth reached out to Bill to kidnap Rain. She paid him $50,000 up front. And then once she got Liam to marry her in Las Vegas, then she was going to give him the other 50 grand. But she states that she did this because she felt humiliated after he tried to make her do the whole thing with the huge dildo. And she's like, I was upset, but it doesn't matter now because she got a call that her dad is dead. So in spite of the fact that she did this, Liam was like, well, I am sorry for your loss, but you're still trash, basically, So because her dad's dead, it's mute, right? She can't get the company. The company is automatically, it's going to go to Kitty now. So she called to call it off and even doubled him to bring the girl back, but Bill said no. He was going to have his fun with her. So now they're like, well, we need your address. Where is she? So apparently there's an abandoned warehouse near the airport. So they're like, we're going and you're coming with us. So the older couple are taking care of the little baby. And she's like, I can't just go. My sister Kitty and her husband George are going to be here in a couple of hours. And they're like, they'll be fine. Give the number to Seth. He'll reach out to them and let them know where they can come and get her. I'm sorry, him. Come and get the baby. So they all pack up. They're on their way. They were able to sneak out. Interesting fact, Seth used to be a police officer. So I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So he kind of let them know, like, you guys, if you do this, this is like premeditated because you guys are like saying you're going to do it and all this type of stuff. And at this point, they told him, if she's gone, we don't care. We switched to Rain's POV. She finally comes to. She's tied up to a bed. Her dad's like, finally, you stupid slut, you wake up. And he's like, I got you tied up like your perverts do. So all kinds of truths come out. The dad tells her about the $2,000 stipend that he was getting every month. He tells her about when she first was at the club, he would follow her in Mason. And he heard him call her Precious. So he says, I'll be calling you Precious now, right? So then he also wanted to know, well, what does the Mick call you? What does, because he doesn't know Liam's name, so he calls him some derogatory thing. And then we find out that this man is beyond what we thought. So 2 years after the mother left, her older sister Rowan, he started sleeping with her. He used to sing this Rod Stewart song and make it really gross. It was so disgusting. And she kind of knew something was happening because she would hear a knock on the wall, but she didn't know that her dad was in there basically fucking her sister. She had no idea this was happening. So he was like, everything was fine until she got pregnant twice. So not that you've impregnated your daughter, but it's that she got pregnant. It's her fault. So he said he had a hard time having a doctor get rid of it, being that she was not even 14 years old yet. So he had she had 2 abortions because of her father. So when she turned 14, that's when he put her on birth control. And I guess that's when she got, she only got pregnant once when she was 30. This is so disturbing. She got put on the birth control, and then she got sick and was on antibiotics and got pregnant again. And not got pregnant again, because I don't like saying it that way. He impregnated her. That's what happened. And that one he made her get rid of. So she thought because Rowan was getting, like, she would get the new clothes, even though it was weird that he was buying her lingerie and different little things. She was young. She didn't realize fully what was going on. She thought that Rowan just was the dad's favorite, and that was that. So we also find out that Rowan kept her from getting abused, because the father was ready to start messing with Rain when she hit 13. But Rowan took on that abuse. I was like, what? So then he said she thought she was too good for me, and I had to take care of that. So now Rain's going, that's why she never came home. He offed his own daughter. But I mean, I really shouldn't be shocked, because if you're going to screw your own kid, it shouldn't be as shocking that you'd kill him too. You know what I'm saying? But he's even worse than we even probably imagine. He's awful. Doesn't stop there. Even more truths. Her mother didn't leave. What happened was her mother tried to take the kids and he offed the mother. I'm like, this is just so awful. And the thing that threw off Rain was she was like, no, I saw Rowan pack up for school and you took her to the airport. He said, I didn't take her to the airport. He said, I took her out to the desert. I effed her one more time and then I took her out and buried her. And I still have the shovel in my truck in the back. And I'll be using it again today. So I must admit, this was very difficult to read. Like, this is just some awful. It kind of made me think about the Fables of Happiness series where they were doing these awful things to kids. It's just, ugh. But this was their own father. He apparently said that he didn't think the kids were his anyway because the mom was always so nice and smiling at his brother that he thought all the kids were his brother's kids. I said that still would not make this okay. This still makes it wrong. Now, the brother, River, he said about him, I think he at least went off to the army. He let him go. He said he got too big and basically he couldn't like beat him up anymore. So that's why he let him go. I don't know why he didn't kill him. I don't know. But yeah. So she's got a brother out there, but this is just wild. So anyway, now he's like, it's time for you to give me what you've been denying me all these years. So he put his lips on her to kiss her. Ugh, just so gross. And then he took his dick out. He couldn't get hard fully. And she had to start thinking like he had a knife in his hand. He had punched her a couple of times in the face. Like she almost saw black. Like he was really hurting her. And so she had to try and think of a way to keep him, try and keep herself alive a little bit longer, So she told him, she started talking to him like, Daddy, I can make it better for you. I can use my hands while I suck you at the same time. So he punched her at first because he thought she was playing games, but she kept saying stuff to him. So eventually he untied her hands. Well, thankfully, once he did that, she was able to knock that knife and she just started stabbing him. She stabbed him, I don't know how many times in the heart. And then it's like after that, she just started screaming. She just kept stabbing him. And she didn't realize that the scream, it was her scream. She had no idea. No idea. We switch back to Liam and Mason and they're like trying to get there. Gwyneth is being Gwyneth, saying basically this isn't her fault. She didn't know he would do this. And Liam just kind of went in on her. He said, you knew he'd do something to her, but you didn't care. Because you heard everything that I said to him when he was outside of that club. But you didn't care what he would do to her because you only care about yourself. You only wanted the company from your father. That's it. But now that your father's dead, you only did the right thing because there was no option for you, right? It wasn't, you were no longer going to get what you had come out here for. So now it's like, okay, well, I might as well tell him. You know what I'm saying? And he told her, like, when he asked, he was like, there's such a difference between the two of you. He said, when he proposed to her, the first thing she said was, how big is the diamond? I need to make sure it really shines. That's the first thing she said. Because she only cares about herself. So Beck winds up snatching her up and told her he know all about the different pain points and shit. And she got terrified and Liam didn't care. He said, I don't care. Do whatever you want to her. I don't care. I'm done with her. So they get to the place because she points it out. And sure enough, they, head out. They leave Gwyneth in the car with Beck. And when they go in and they see Rain, they're like, oh my God, so much blood. So Rain's naked, blood's everywhere. She's in shock. They had to come up to her gently, Mason was frustrated, but Liam was like, you gotta chill because you could rattle her, especially in her state, you know? And I think, yes, taking a life would take a toll probably on anyone unless you're probably like a serial killer. But it was also the fact of all these truths that she learned, that any hope she ever had of her mom coming back is gone. Also learning that her mother didn't abandon her. Her mother tried to save them and got killed in the process. Her sister didn't forget about her. She got killed. And she sacrificed herself so she wouldn't have to suffer. So it's like all of these things that she's built in her head of not being worthy are based upon, this is the foundation, right? And they're coming from this despicable individual who only said horrible things to her, and you realize it was all a lie. Now, I don't know what happened to River. um I mean, maybe he could have came back, maybe he tried, I don't know. I don't know, but what a despicable person that was. I don't even like to call the dad a human because he's just fucking vile. So finally, Mason left to go get Beck, and Liam had to go into dominant mode to make her drop the knife because she wouldn't drop it. So when he said sub, drop the knife, eventually something in her head clicked and she was able to do it. Um, Beck comes in, he's checking around, he talked to her, he told her, you have to tell them that all the marks on your body are from your father. We don't want Mason and Liam getting in trouble. So you got to tell them that when the ambulance gets here. And she said, okay, I will. So then Beck asked her, is there any possible semen in her? Well, there is, because Liam nutted in her earlier, you know? It's not her dad. She was like, he didn't get me. You know, it wasn't him. So then Gwyneth tries to come in, and Liam runs to her, and the look he gave her scared the shit out of her. She knew she was about to catch his wrath. And as the sirens were approaching, she like runs to the police, and she's like, arrest me. I was like, oh my gosh. But she's awful. So what happened? So she's got to get examined. She's got to give her statements. They're at the hospital. It's a long wait. Mason's driving a, hole in the rug. He's walking back and forth. It's a lot going on. They can't go back there with her because they're not family. That's a lot. So it's a lot on them both. So there was a guy, one of the waiting rooms. He was kind of big and bulky, and they looked at him kind of thinking like, who is that? Because River's her brother. I think this guy is River. They never tell us, but I think it's River because Rain's face has been plastered everywhere on the news. The fucked up part is they're saying that she's a sex worker at Shadows, and she's not. But that's what they're putting out there. But again, I'm thinking it's her brother, which means if he got there that fast, was he far away? Like what? I don't know. And it might not be his brother, but they just saw this big bulky guy and they kind of looked like he looked out of place. And I just kind of correlated that maybe he was the brother, but we don't find out yet. We got one more book, so we'll see. I want her to have some type of good family, even though sometimes it may have to be someone that's not blood that's your family, but I would like for her to at least have her brother, that would be nice. There's a nursing student, her name's Heavenly, and both Seth and Beck are watching her, and I'm like, oh God, we're starting over again. She seems very much like a submissive, and they both are looking at her. Yeah, some probably's gonna pop off with that. And then old girl Rain is in the back, and she's like, why won't you bring them to me? Just let me talk to them. She's crying like she's ready to see her boobs. And so they get back there with her, and she tells them everything about what the father, all the revelations that came out, They were floored with this information. They weren't shocked by the fact that he was messing with the older sister Rowan, and they were very thankful that she, spared and sacrificed herself for Rain. But gosh, so awful for her and how she suffered. Um, Again, I just felt so bad for her. It was like, at least he's gone, right? He can't get her anymore. But gosh, to learn all of that stuff, oh, it just seems so awful. To take her mother away, take her sister away. He sent the brother away, but it's just like, good grief. So then the doctor comes in, and he's got some results for her. Also, Mason and Liam were like, when do we can move into the house whenever you want to, because I'm sure. She's like, as soon as possible. She wants that new start now, and I don't blame her. So the doctor comes in. He's giving her an update on her. He's asking her different questions. He asked her when her last period was, and she said sometime in November, but she said it was short. And I said, oh shit. I said she was. So we find out that she really wasn't in the middle of her period. Remember when Liam was like, he knew she was in the middle of her period? Well, apparently she wasn't. And she thought her period in November was short because of the stress. But nope, it is because she was pregnant. So the doctor says, well, you're pregnant, right? And that's how it ends. So we wrap up everything in the last book of the series, The Bond. And I'm so excited to jump into that. What did you all think of book 3, The Brink? So much stuff came out. I really liked it. It was just so disturbing to read the parts with the dad. The idea that the dad wanted her that way. It's just so disgusting. And then what he did, that was just so awful. But let me know, what did you guys think of it? Let me know down in the comments section. If you are in the market for a beautiful notebook or journal, I do have those available, and the links are going to be available down below in the description section. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And as always, I truly do thank you all for your support, and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.